They have been with us for thousands of years, showing us what we love and most despise about ourselves. The first mirrors were but ponds and pools. Even then, subjects believed their souls to be held captive on the other side. But who was the first victim of this ancient superstition? As the poet Ovid tells the story, Narcissus was a young, vain man.
One day, upon finding his image in a pond, he fell in love with his own reflection. Now, what's ironic about this story is that he actually died of thirst in front of that pool.
A mirror somehow translates to me, certainly from that story, of this unbelievable desire to not grow old. Perhaps one of the first superstitions to spring from this fable of pride was the belief that bad luck would visit those whose reflections became distorted.
I started some research about the history of human being and the mirrors, and I realized that for many centuries the mirrors were more than just glass and silver. They were something like a window or gate to the other side.
Holy shit. The thing about mirrors as a film that really interested me the most wasn't so much about the mirrors themselves, as much as what they potentially represent, which is that your soul can actually get trapped in this plane and would not be allowed to continue on. This idea of being stuck is a really interesting and powerful thing for me.
Maybe I'm seeing things in the mirrors at work, bad things, to the point where I can feel what they're showing me.
They reflect things in a different way, in an alternate way. It's almost like it's a window, it's a door to another world.
We stand in front of a mirror and it gives us absolute control over that image. So imagine the moment that that image changes and starts living on its own. That becomes incredibly frightening.
Looking into many mythology, like all the witchcraft of the Middle Age, women were burned alive because they were owning like a mirror.
According to Russian folklore, mirrors are the invention of the devil because it can actually draw one's soul from one's body.
To prevent souls of the dead from being trapped within mirrors before making it to the afterlife, many cultures refuse to lay their dead in rooms with reflective surfaces. These superstitions have only multiplied throughout the ages.
Magicians have always used mirrors. Mirrors have been around forever. They've been used in different ways to deceive. Lewis Carroll once wrote that when Alice stepped into the looking glass, she passed into another world. He called it a wonderland. Many cultures to this day still believe that mirrors in sick rooms should be covered, lest they draw out the soul of the weakened body.
The ancient Chinese believed that mirrors could ward off evil spirits. And in Persian weddings, it was customary to place a mirror of fate behind the couple so that the first thing the groom saw upon removing his bride's veil was the reflection of his wife-to-be. In the film, certain mirrors are destroyed. I really didn't want to be anywhere near the set when some of these mirrors were being broken. And I certainly didn't want to stand next to the guy who had to blow some of them up.
They're all around us, and we forget, how much they found a way into our daily lives.
Anything that can drive a parallel between cultures and people, and yet is transcending those cultures or religions, that we all have this collective thought from one culture to another, I find really interesting. Can it be that these terrifying superstitions are nothing more than ancient mythologies played out on a grand scale throughout the centuries? Or could it be something more? The mirror starts out in our life as a friend. And I think as we get older through time, it reveals that this life that we value so greatly is changing and is leaving us.
What happens if tomorrow mirrors stop reflecting what they're supposed to reflect? What happens if tomorrow mirrors start to show us something that we're not supposed to see?
I think a lot of the mythology came from this one thing that could really tell us was the great marker for where we were in our lives.
They say that one's perception is one's reality. And what I like about this film is it gives you that view that if you were to look at your reflected perceptions with an evil slant. If that were to happen, your world would become a living nightmare.
I'm so scared.